Hi everyone, this is a different episode. I recently started a job at a DevTools startup. There's about 8 of us. I haven't announced which one yet. I'm going to do that a bit later. I am trying to help them grow. It's very, very early stage. It's definitely pre-PMF. It's pre-people really using us. So I have been trying to study stuff, and the person that I've been studying this week is Lee Robinson. He's written an absolute ton of stuff, and it's really amazing. If you don't know Lee, he was, until very recently, the head of DevRel / developer marketing at Vercel. He's kind of a legendary figure, and he just joined Cursor to head up developer education, AI education. I'm sure he's the de facto head of DevRel at Cursor as well. Hopefully there's a few gems in what he said. Okay, so this is Lee's website. If you're not on video, that it doesn't matter. I'm going to say it all out anyway. Okay, so here we can see that Lee actually helped Vercel go from 1 to 200 million ARR. He helped the Next.js community reach 1.3 million plus active devs. And that's insane, basically. 1 to 200 million ARR in particular is absolutely insane. Okay, so there are a few things that I really, really like about what Lee says. I'm going to start with what Lee has said about developer experience, because I think this is, for me, coming into this new job, this feels like the biggest thing to just get right first is actually build a product that people use. And if you don't have the developer experience, then it's just not even going to happen. So what Lee says about documentation. Docs make or break developer products. They must be high quality and available everywhere, on your website, in their editor, and inside AI chatbots. Your goal is to write content beginners can understand and experts appreciate. Great docs are products themselves. They need constant updates and polish. New product features can't ship without the reference docs. So he's got suggestions here. So he's got 9 suggestions. The first one is, ensure docs have many code examples that you can copy, paste, or run. Number 2, optimize for skimming. Good use of bold, italics, lists, headings, images, etc. Number 3, with writing, be both precise and concise. Avoid technical jargon and idioms. I think this is such a big one, because I see so many times where people invent their wording for something new and just kind of use that throughout. And I have to say that we're kind of doing that as well. And it's something that I've been trying to not do, but it's so hard when you have new concepts, especially.
More often than not, if people write how they talk, company communication would be so much more clear. I want to read something that sounds like it's coming from a human, not something that says, we delved into blah, 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 which it's like, okay, well, this is probably GPT generated, right? But especially for documentation and blog posts and written content for developers, that really cuts all of that cruft and just gets down to the bare essentials of what's necessary to get your job done. It makes a huge difference. And you can feel the difference when you read docs that are written in this way versus docs that have, 5 paragraphs of hedging of kind of convoluted sentences that maybe say same thing over and over. There's, it's kind of hard to visually parse. Maybe you don't realize it right away, but you feel it internally when you're actually consuming the information.
Number 4, keep the first time experience simple and slowly reveal complexity. That's a really good one. I feel like that's just having an opinion on how someone should do it as well. And just they should probably just do this, and then we'll let them configure it later. Yeah.
If I'm evaluating a tool and I've never used it before, there's kind of 2 paths for me. Either I want to start building right away. So I would recommend all developer docs have a quick start. Kind of goes back to get started for free for great developer products. I just want to get going right now. How do I get the product working as fast as possible? So I think that will always remain. And that works today, and it will continue to work in the future. The second thing that people do today is, I'm going to a tool. I've heard it's good. I'm not exactly sure if it solves my problem or not, but I'd like to find out. So I would like to go through something that's a bit more of a guided resource to help me understand how this thing works. The con of most AI tools today is that they don't have any guided sense to it. Like you're prompting it. You have to know what questions to ask. And one of the things that's great about docs today is that people build information architecture or curriculums that guide you through the course, that guide you through the resources.
Number 5, you should still document workarounds, even if it's a product gap. I think that's a really big one, because your product doesn't do everything, and you should help them even if you can't do it yet, whatever. Use AI to automate reviews on docs for spelling, grammar, and brevity. Make it easy for developers to leave feedback on docs, e.g. typos. I guess like if you're using Mentify or whatever, you could probably just do that. Embed docs directly in the code for in-editor feedback. This was actually one that I hadn't thought about. And he's put e.g. JS docs. And that is when you have like the kind of comments right next to the functions. Number 9, the last one, add automated checks for broken links on Git pushes. Oh, he has an example on Next.js where they have a GitHub action for validating documentation links. Okay, well, it's doing quite a lot of stuff, but it seems to just check the links are correct and stuff like that. Traverses. Go check that out. Okay, what else does he say about developer experience? Number 2, community. Scaling DevTools is sponsored by WorkOS. If things start going well, some of your customers are going to start asking for enterprise features. Things like audit trails, SSO, skim provisioning, role-based access control. These things are hard to build, and you could get stuck spending all your time doing that instead of actually making a great dev tool. That's why WorkOS exists. They help you with all of those enterprise features, and they're trusted by OpenAI, Vercel, and Perplexity. And if you use them for user management, you get your first million monthly active users for free. I honestly don't know any dev tools that have 1 million monthly active users, apart from GitHub maybe. So that'll get you pretty far. Here's what Kyle from Depot has to say about WorkOS.
We use WorkOS to effectively add all of the SSO and skim to Depot. It's single-handedly like one of the best developer experiences I've ever seen for what is like a super painful problem if you were to go and try to roll that yourself. So for us, we can effectively offer SSO and skim, and it's like 2 clicks of a button, and we don't ever have to think about it. It's like one of the best features that we can add to Depot. It's super affordable, which effectively allows us to like break the SSO tax joke and essentially say like you can have SSO and skim as like an add-on onto your monthly plan. Like it's no problem. So it really allows smaller startups to essentially offer like that enterprise feature without a huge engineering investment behind it. Like it's literally, we can just use a tool behind the scenes and our life is exponentially easier.
Lee says, building community is a long-term investment. It must be in your company DNA. It's not a collection of developers you're trying to sell your product to. It's an exchange. They share bugs, you fix them. They submit pull requests, you merge and encourage them. This is how you understand what's working or not working with your product. Their feedback shapes the product direction and roadmap. A community forms around a product when developers feel heard. They share their wins and frustrations, and you respond by improving the product or clarifying the docs. You must meet developers where they already are: GitHub, X, Reddit, Slack, or at meetups. So Lee has some suggestions on community. You can't spend too much time talking to developers in the community. Make yourself accessible to answer questions, e.g. host an AMA. Monitor feedback on social media to understand community sentiment. Use a Slack bot to send real-time user feedback to product teams. Invest in high-quality swag for your top community members. And the final one, everybody loves stickers. They're cheap and easy to buy in bulk. I would guess that people love Next.js and Vercel stickers more than they love your random startup. You probably need to put more effort into like making it interesting, I would guess. Although, because I don't love stickers, but I know most people do love stickers. Okay, so let's look at this. I think the biggest thing that Lee says here is that it's like the value exchange, right? You're not just extracting from them. If you want them to be part of the community, you're actually need to give them a reason. You can't just invite everyone to Slack and just post announcements that you've got new features unless it's like actually relevant to them. So he says they submit pull requests, you manage and encourage them. They show bugs, you fix them. I've seen Lee or heard Lee say that there's like ridiculous alpha in talking to people, finding out what they need fixing or don't like, fixing it really fast, and then telling them about it. And he said specifically that most people skip the last part of telling the person who told them about this issue. And the reason they often do that is like, well, we're making a big marketing splash anyway, we're announcing the feature. But Lee said a lot of the time people just don't realize, so they don't see your announcement. So you have to just go tell that specific person. There's ridiculous alpha in that iteration cycle.
There's an iteration cycle you can follow that, in my opinion, is almost guaranteed to help you build a great product for developers. And it's not rocket science. It's actually very simple, which is talk to them, build relationships with developers, get out there and hear what's working well, what's not working well, really listen to their feedback and ask 5 whys, go 5 layers deep of asking questions to hear about what's working and what's not working well, and do a little discovery on how things are going. Then critically go back and fix the things that they're frustrated with as fast as possible and iterate on the product experience and tell them. I think a lot of people surprisingly miss the tell them step. They think that if I just broadcast this message to the world, well, of course they're going to see it, but people are busy and algorithms on socials are weird sometimes. And maybe they were on holiday and they didn't log on that day and people miss stuff. So if you fix something that you talk to a customer about, you should go tell them and build that trust and then repeat and do that over and over in small chunks. There's small iterations towards this broad vision. So while you can have a great strategy about how to build the next $1 billion developer product, it's actually, the battle is won in the trenches of every single day, iterating and iterating on how you make the experience better. It could be 2-paragraph change in your docs because you talked to a customer and they didn't understand this one bit about how it worked. Because for every one person you talk to, every one customer, or every 10 customers, you're going to get to a point where there's 100 more who don't say anything.
Education is the best form of marketing, second only to customer testimonials. Good education not only shows people how to use your product, but why it exists and what they can accomplish with it. It's part storytelling, part technical guide, part product demo. So he's got some suggestions. Build demos that show real-world usage of your product, not just hello world. I think this is actually something that I think about a lot, is like, what is the demo? Because like in my team, some people are like, it should be fun or it should be like exciting. And I remember that someone else also said it's like, it should actually be like really useful is the next stage. And it's really easy to do like hello world demos. And it's really hard to do like ones which actually represent real use cases, real production use cases.
You actually now need like real life examples. That's something that I did a lot with Vercel on trying to focus on building real apps. Because with real apps come real problems. And then people might start easily with a quick starts, but now they basically understand that there's more than that. And if you don't do these real apps with real examples, then either people get lost or people get pissed off because like, oh, this works only for like a stupid use case and not for a real app and stuff like that. So I think now, not just it's tailoring to AI, but also starting to think a lot more about real apps and real use cases. That's what I'm seeing as the new trend, I would say, in DevTools examples and docs.
I think if you can do that, that's really good. If you answer the same question multiple times, turn it into a guide. Yeah, that's a great one. You need both reference material docs and structured learning courses. In the last episode that I released, it was with Matt from Replit, and he spoke about diataxis. And it seems to be that that's kind of what diataxis says as well. If you want more of a concrete framework there. They have like reference as well as learning, understanding, goals. So like reference, how-to guides, tutorials, and explanation. I have to admit, I've not dug deeply into the Ataxis yet, but it seems to match what Lee is saying, that you need both reference material and structured learning. Okay, now let's talk about what Lee says about developer marketing. So what does great developer marketing look like, according to Lee, who seems to be very good at developer marketing? Number one, teaches how to build great products. This is actually a very interesting one. So when developers use a great tool, they're curious about how it's built. The best developer marketing taps into this curiosity. What technology choices helped craft this product experience? It often comes down to the implementation. Even great tools can be paired with skill issues, but they want to learn more. Your product is your best marketing. Explain how you built an exceptional product with your own technology. Share how your customers were able to do the same. Once you've captured their interest with your product, you keep your developers engaged by focusing on the developer experience. Write docs worth sharing, filled with helpful diagrams and detailed descriptions. Create code examples and templates that help them get started quickly. This is interesting because it's like you're actually explaining how to build a developer product in some parts, like how you, because often I feel like developer products are quite difficult, more difficult than most SaaS apps, for instance. And so even though most devs are not building those things, you could actually dig into those fun, difficult parts of it. It's very interesting. And then, yeah, also like he's got about sharing how you dog fooded your own product and how your customers have been able to build with your product, and getting into the technical parts of it. Number two on developer marketing, builds and retains trust. So great developer marketing builds and retains trust. Building, growing, and retaining developer trust is your most valuable asset. Developers won't try your product the first time they hear about it. They need to hear positive feedback several times before they trust it enough to give it a try. Experienced developers are skeptical of almost everything. It's hard to earn trust. They don't want to contact sales, jump on a quick call, even with James from PostHog, or get junk emails. Trust is built by sharing helpful content, sometimes unrelated to the product. Be ruthless with your content editing and quality bar. Don't publish anything you wouldn't share yourself. Avoid buzzwords, acronyms, and vague explanations of the technology. Make sure every code example and link works. Be careful about overpromising simplicity. This is often the job of developer relations. And I also saw Lee posted a tweet about how there should be someone inside the company who says no to all the like BS that ends up being put out by marketing or whatever. And Lee said this is basically the job of DevRel, and he's not joking. Don't overpromise, underdeliver, underpromise, overdeliver with your product. So he said it's really easy to get excited about what you're launching, about the technology, but don't act as if it's some panacea when it's not, because it will just come back and bite you in the ass. And I also heard Lee talking like about Next.js, and I remember clearly him saying, oh, you know, I think he was talking about like Markdown. He's like, oh, our Markdown support is not where it should be yet.
Next.js needs to have better support for Markdown and MDX. So there's room for us to grow there.
It's pretty good. What do you mean better support? It's pretty good. You just
maybe I'm obviously hypercritical of everything, but
what could be better? I don't understand.
There wasn't multiple ways to do Markdown in Next.js. So the pro and the con of that is that you have the flexibility to choose which one you want, but selfishly from a like encapsulated bundled perspective, it would be great if it just worked out of the box. There's trade-offs, of course, but I don't know. That's a world I would like to get to.
Okay. All right.
This was like 4 or 5 years ago, by the way, or 2021. So I'm sure it is now. But in the short time that I've been at this company, I've been like the guy that's like, oh, we can't say that because we're not. We can't say we're the best. We can't say we are the fastest. We can't say, unless these things are like verifiably true, and you are like, it's because I think in most other marketing contexts you could easily just like say like buzzwords, acronyms, vague explanations. You want to keep putting content out, all this sort of stuff, but like in developer marketing, it feels like that trust is just so high, and people are skeptical, and if they see you like not like over promising, under delivering, or just like talking like a marketer, then you're going to lose trust.
And there's been cases where, we missed the mark and the product wasn't actually as good, or the first experience wasn't as good as what it sounded like. After making a few of those mistakes, I really have a new appreciation for being very humble about the state of the product, especially if it's new. And secondly, like really only comparing against yourself. I think this is also a mistake that I've made in the past. Like you have to be very confident if you're going to be comparing your product with other products. And especially for evolving your product over time, it's much better to talk about how you've been improving yourself, your own product over time versus others. Like since the last version, we've made this better and that better. And that's what we're focused on, is listening to customer feedback, iterating, making it better, and then improving. The customer ultimately will decide what tool they pick, whether it's your tool or a competitor's tool. And you want to stay focused on just making your product better.
Number 3, concise and precise. Great marketing values your time. Every word matters. Show them how to build interesting things. Don't fill a post with 1,000 words of garbage. Okay, so Lee is telling us how to write an email here. So he says, put the bottom line up front. If I stop reading after the first paragraph, did I get what I needed to know? Is there action required? Put that in the email subject line. Make it easy to scan. He also says this about documentation. The visual flow of the content is as important as the words you choose. They should be able to quickly scan for landmarks, like code examples or commands they need to run. I think he also talks in the documentation about like use of like bold and italics and underlining and stuff. I don't know if he said underlining. I guess that's just links. Address their fears directly. This email mentions a migration. Am I going to lose my data? Do I need to make changes right away? By what date? Am I going to be charged more? Personalize the content. Show them their team name, the date the migration starts and finishes in UTC, exactly how much their price was before and after, and how they can take action. Maybe a CLI command that shows their usage. Yeah, this is a lot of work, but worth doing, because then you're actually not leaving them any doubt in like they have to like go calculate, was I registered before the 31st of November 2022? Yeah, this is really good. Number 4, builds a community. Developers are more likely to trust open source tools. These tools likely have a community of other developers learning together. They can take their knowledge of the tool from job to job as they grow in their careers. Community is built on trust and transparency. When something sucks with your product, own it. Don't try to hide the failure. Lean into it. Bring the community along for the continuous iteration of your product. You told us this was bad and we fixed it. Follow up with people after you ship. That's what we were talking about earlier. So don't try to hide the failure. Lean into it. Bring the community along for the continuous iteration of your product. You told us this bad and this was bad and we fixed it. Follow up with people after you ship. That's just, I think, is really, really, really important. You should host hackathons or meetups. Spend time talking to developers one-to-one. Their feedback drives product improvement and content ideas. What are people struggling with? Where are people struggling? Write about how you fix that. Yeah, I feel like this goes to what Lee says as well, is like, you can't spend too much time with users or something. I think he says, you can't spend too much time talking to developers in the community. You cannot spend too much time. And also this always feels like you're kind of wasting time, because you're just like, we like to just be like shipping stuff, but if you talk to users, then you actually know what you're doing. This is what I'm trying to do anyway. And then he also has a article on developer products. So let's see if you all agree on this. Number one, you should embrace open source. Experienced developers love open source products because they've seen the opposite. They've struggled to debug a black box closed source tool, or worse, had a previously open tool change licenses or close its source code. New developers love open source products because they're learning skills that help them advance in their career, where knowledge transfers from company to company. Open source tools often have better documentation as well. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, but I think that even if you're not open source, I think that these points are important that Lee says, where it's like the kind of people getting like experienced developers have been burned and they're going to be skeptical about license changes, but also just like pricing changes or like deprecations or like companies not delivering on reliability and stuff. New developers value learning new things that they can take on to their next job. So, and I mean, documentation is obviously important. So I think this is a very good point, and especially the reasons that he gives. Number two, you should have a free tier. Developers don't want to talk to your sales team. They want to try out the product with as little friction as possible. Start free, then grow once they've validated the product works and will solve their needs. There are exceptions to this rule. You might have procured software that required months of negotiations, license keys to get access, and hand-guided provisioning of resources from a human. But ask your developer. They would have preferred if they could have started self-serve. I guess this was a call out to Twilio there. Especially if you're doing something new, I think you need to have a free tier. If you're planet scale and everyone knows what a database is, that's different. Okay, you should have excellent documentation. The better the documentation, the more likely the developer is to try your product. This isn't about specific UI features like dark mode or Command K search dialogues. How quickly can they find an answer to their problem? Great documentation is either a reference guide or an educational tool. Educational material should be equally compelling for both beginners and experts. Experts love to hear concepts explained in a simple way. Beginners want new concepts progressively explained. Don't drop 10 new concepts and 5 acronyms right away. Write like you're teaching beginners. This is just difficult to do. This is very difficult to do. And remember, Lee said, education is the best form of developer marketing, second only to customer testimonials. So this is not easy, but it's very important. Number 4, you should be able to get support from developers. When developers can't find the answers in your docs, they'll reach out to support. They want to talk to someone who emphasizes and understands their problem. It's easy to tell whether the support person actually gets it. Minimize the number of hops between problem and support and solution, ideally cutting out layers of humans in the middle. This is why roles like developer advocates or customer success engineers exist. Developers expect to talk to developers. I remember speaking to Gonto from Vercel, or perhaps it was an article from Hank, maybe both of them. And Hank was the CMO of Vercel. And they spoke about hiring salespeople from the Apple Store and that sort of like very technical person, and it just changed the way that like the salesperson wasn't suddenly reaching out to you to just talk about contracts and, you know, when trying to figure out if you had urgency. They were actually just trying to help you, and the conversation completely changed when they reached out with value. So I think you just need to have your company stacked with people who are technical and who like helping developers, right? I think that seems to be what Vercel have done really well.
One thing, for example, that we did with Vercel was build this team that was called product advocates. Like every company has SDRs. When the SDR goes after developers don't want to talk to a sales guy. It's like, who the is this guy? I don't want to talk to them. So our idea with them was, let's hire somebody technical. So we went into Apple Genius Bar, to Best Buy Tech Support, and CS Bootcamps to hire people who were slightly technical, but were still going to be cheap enough to be an SDR. Once we had those people, we trained them on how to use the product slightly. And then after that, the whole idea was, when is a good time for these people to reach out to connect with signups? And the reality was that it made sense when they were blocked. So we tried to guess when people were blocked. If you click on a section in the dashboard, go to docs, come back, and do nothing, maybe you're blocked. In those cases, we had these product advocates, these technical SDRs contact you, try to help you get unblocked, and then eventually say something like, hey, we got you unblocked. Do you want to have somebody on your team talk to sites?
Number 5, you should be part of a community. Where do developers go to hang out? Online and in-person communities. This doesn't mean you need to start a community for your product. In fact, you probably shouldn't. Instead, look at where developers are already spending time. Go there, talk to them, and contribute to the discourse. Communities are not a transactional relationship. You are there to provide value. This is a long game, sometimes taking years to materialize value back, but then obvious in hindsight. And then Leah's linked back to building. Oh, he's actually got an article on community moderation as well. Okay, let's dig in on communities as well. I didn't see this one. This is like a hidden article. Okay, so Leah's written 5 points on community moderation. I'm going to fly through these a little bit. So number 1, be kind. Always be kind, even when enforcing rules. This can be difficult. Address issues with empathy and understanding. This compassion can and should exist with firmness. Clearly explain why moderation actions were taken, and if relevant, link back to the code of conduct. When addressing negative feedback, be exceptionally detailed in your response. Be calm, factual, and empathetic to their concerns. Number 2, build long-term relationships. Community trust is slowly built over time. There isn't a shortcut or hack. Give the community more than you take. For example, you should be adding value in 90% of the conversations or interactions you have, e.g. being helpful, answering questions, and only 10% asking for things, e.g. read our new blog post, try the product. When community members do wonderful things, celebrate them, highlight their work, give them kudos, maybe even offer some swag. I'm in the developer marketing community, which you should join if you're not already in. Just search marketing2.dev, like this, marketing2.dev. And yeah, it's like you see people that just like constantly helping other people, and you see people that just like drop in and just like post a link to something that they've done. And, you know, that's just different, right? Like that's a small example, but like, we all notice the people that are just like always helpful. And then when that person rarely asks you for something, you're like, yeah, like I want to help you. Whereas, yeah, it's just like value, give. Number 3, don't stop the conversation too soon. Resist the temptation to overly moderate. Some tension is natural as it encourages open dialogue. If discussions turn to dogpiling, consider closing them and providing more focused next steps based on the feedback. I mean, I'm guessing this is something that most people are not going to get tons of, but Next.js is so big and people get so passionate about it. I guess he's talking about like when someone starts off just like saying, oh, this feature's like just doesn't work well, and then someone else says, oh yeah, and that's fine, and then there's like, you know, valid criticism, and then someone else comes along and starts making personal attacks or whatever, and then it's like, all right, just shut it down. Number 4, mostly mute, rarely block. If possible, mute before blocking. This minimizes escalations from upset members after being blocked and creates a less hostile environment. Blocking should be a last resort. If the conversation turns into harassment or violates code of conduct, be vigilant and take swift action. I'm just gonna, I feel like most of us are not gonna get this like stuff, but you should come back and read what Leah said. If you're lucky enough that your community gets so big that you start to attract rude people, Number 5, take personal conversations private. Always respect community members' anonymity. If you need to discuss private information, move the conversation to DM or email. Okay, so some good stuff in there. This is most of Lee's stuff, but I just wanted to like also just look at this page that Lee has about like things that he believes. And some of this is not related to developer tools. It's just like personal stuff. The reason that I think this is interesting is just like, if you think that Lee is doing the job that a lot of us spend a lot of time doing at developer tools, and he's exceptionally good at it. And so some of the things that he believes probably help that. Okay, so I know this was an unusual episode, but I just really wanted to share what Lee has written. Lee, if you hear this, I would love to interview you on the podcast. Everyone should go check out Lee's writing at leerob.com and listen to the various podcasts that he has been on. He's absolutely brilliant and excited for the work he's going to do at Cursor. One quick note, I used a few clips in this episode from podcasts that aren't mine, especially the Peter Yang podcast, because he did such a great interview with Lee. I'm going to put a link to the episode, as well as all the other episodes that I used, in the show notes.